Well, hey everybody, it's Charlie. Look, I'm all tongue-tied today. I got Bruce Mallinson on. Oh my God, I'm so excited, you guys. It's Contractor's Corner. It is Tuesday, June 21st, 22. We are live. We are here. I'm going to bring Jeff in real quick. This is kind of a
Hey,
weird
guys.
week for us, and we're like, oh my God, so jacked up. It's ridiculous. And fair warning, they doubled my meds this week for this nerve crap in my neck. I'm a little off, just a little off.
Yep.
But we'll be all right. We're going to
And
muscle through this thing.
we're going to blame the government for this. There's no
Oh,
surcharge report this week because apparently they're having technology issues over at the Department of Energy today. So
yeah, according to them, no network issues are stopping them from putting out the national fuel prices, and so we don't have a fuel surcharge report yet. Nobody does. It's wonderful. It's not okay. But you know what? We're just, you know what? That just gets us sooner into talking with Bruce Mallinson. Who do we got? James Vaughn, what's up, buddy? Craig Hutchinson. Hey, you know, Craig Hutchinson, this guy right here, he's the guy that got us in contact with Bruce Mallinson. And I love this guy. And thank you, Craig Hutchinson. You're awesome, brother. I appreciate you, seriously.
yep.
So, you know what? We should just dive into our stuff with Bruce because we don't have a fuel surcharge report. So that just saves us time and energy and all that kind of stuff. So, why don't I do that? Let me change some graphics around here real quick. By the way, call into the show if you guys want to call. The number is 813-548-3722, 813-548-LIVE, SCC. Rosie's standing by. She's there. Look, there she is right there. She's ready to take calls. She's waiting. She's like anticipating. We've doubled our call possibilities, and we're like, come on. We're really hoping someone calls in because, yeah, this is the week for it, you guys. Seriously. So I'm going to throw her back out. She's going to do that, and we're going to bring in Mr. Bruce Mallinson of Pittsburg Power. Oh, my God. I am so excited, Bruce.
Yep.
I just can't stand myself right now. Bruce Mallinson, the owner of Pittsburg Power.
Yep. Now, just as a little introduction, so Bruce is a guy that I've listened to for over a decade on the XM.
Me too.
They've recently changed platforms. He's a good friend of Kevin Rutherford, who's helped most of us out quite a bit over the years. And so Craig Hutchinson got us in contact with him, and he agreed to come out and talk to us a little bit today about maintenance and fuel mileage and whatever any questions you guys have. Now's the time.
For real. Like, this is the opportunity to make some stuff happen. And who do we got? Roland Espinoza. What's up, buddy? Tina Hardman, Dennis Lewis, Timothy Ransom, Chris. Oh, they're tuning in now. We got some people now, Bruce, and hopefully they'll start throwing up some questions. So you guys start throwing up your questions. And Jeff actually has his own issues going on this week. He's having fun.
Yeah, if we get Bruce back here a little bit, looks like so just so you guys know, and I talked to him the other day, he's at that point in life now. He's out enjoying life, and
yes,
as you can see by the background, he's on his boat, so we might have a little glitchiness going on there. But yeah, to kick it off, Bruce.
Oh,
there he is.
Okay. Okay.
We'll make it work.
I'm at dock, so
Yep.
usually thing works very well here. So I'm surprised that I'm on my iPad, and it always works well here. I've done the radio show for several years from this location.
Oh wow!
So is this the list on the right of the people that we have on so far?
Yep, you should see some questions or just people basically saying hello in the chat there and that sort of thing, and we'll pull questions up for you out of that if you like to. If you see anything there that catches your interest, by all means, point it out, and we will get it up on the screen. Sorry for our technology stuff today.
Oh, that's okay. You know, one of my favorite subjects is turbo boost gauges and exhaust gas temperature gauges.
Yes.
And so are most of your trucks DD13s and Freightliners?
We've got a mix of Freightliner, Kenworths, Volvos, and Internationals, and I try not to talk about International because I'm not a fan. I personally drive a Series '07 Freightliner Century with a Series 60 in it that does not have the DPF, so it makes me a little happier.
Okay. All right. So, does everybody know why I am a fan of the boost gauge and the exhaust gas temperature gauge? And do they know what it means and what it tells us?
I do, but I don't know that many other people do. I'm not confident that most people understand the proper use of a boost gauge, Bruce.
Okay. All right. So we'll just start from the beginning. It takes diesel fuel to make turbo boost. And turbo boost controls exhaust gas temperature. And we monitor the exhaust gas temperature through the pyrometer or EGT gauge, exhaust gas temperature gauge. It's the same gauge. And we prefer it to be mounted in the exhaust manifold in front of number 4 cylinder. So if we have a power issue, it can be one of two things. Either we're losing air or we're losing fuel. And the two gauges working together will let us know. So it eliminates 50% of all the problems. So if you don't have any of the gauges and you pull into a dealership or a truck garage, say, I'm losing power, losing fuel mileage, losing power. They don't have a clue where to start. They're just going to plug in with their ECM. But what happens if it's an older mechanical engine like we all had years ago?
Right.
But so let's talk about this. As we give it fuel, as you're pushing on that throttle with the right foot, the turbo boost goes up. That means we're giving it fuel. The exhaust gas temperature gauge also goes up. And when it's mounted in the exhaust manifold between 12 and 1300 degrees are our cutoff. You can run as high as 1500 degrees, but you don't want to sustain it there for long pulls. Now, the turbo loses 300 degrees the exhaust gas temperature loses 300 degrees going through the turbo. So if you're on the cold side, which is in the exhaust pipe after the turbo, the temperature now is 900 to 1,000. So when we ask you the question, when you call and say, I'm losing power, losing fuel mileage, what is your normal boost reading and normal exhaust gas temperature reading, and what are they reading now?
Right.
And if you tell me the boost is going down, you're down 5, 6, 8, 10 pounds. And the average 500 horsepower engine usually develops about 30 pounds of turbo boost on a hard pull using RPM. So if you're down, let's say you're down 6 pounds, you will gain 100 degrees. You'll gain 25 degrees for every pound. So you'll gain 150 degrees.
Uh-oh.
That's all right. It's just a drop. 150 degrees.
On the pyrometer.
Right. It'll come back. We have faith. It's going to come in and out like Jeff did last week. This is going to be great. Technology. I love this stuff. Keep posting your questions, guys, and I'm actually pinning them on the side, and we will get to them. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, technology. It's so much fun sometimes. I see some more people tuned in, though. We got TK. I can't read that name.
Matt.
Sorry.
We got Matt.
Matt Wright's there. Yep. Matt woke up. He's been driving nights. Who else is out there? I saw some other word. Timothy Ransom. Good to see you, buddy. G Row, I think that is. Don't have the correct pressure, then there's a problem. Absolutely. Throw that up there like that. There he is. We got Bruce back. We lost you at 150 degrees increase at 6 pounds of boost drop. Oh, he dropped out. We'll get him back, guys. Don't worry. There he is.
There
I
he
see
is.
you
He's back.
moving.
All right,
Wow.
we got
There
you
he
back
is.
now. That's good
Okay.
technology today, Bruce. Don't worry about it. We lost you at 150 degrees of temperature increase for 6 pounds of boost
Okay.
loss.
Oh.
Good times. I love technology.
I wonder if it's my connection.
I think it is your connection. We have a meter that we can see on our screen here, and it's just showing your network dropping out a little bit. It's coming and going. Like I said, we'll work through it. It'll be all right. Eventually,
Well, this
look
iPad has its own line, and usually it works phenomenal.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a strange deal. You should have seen our show last week. Jeff was parked in a spot, and every time a truck drove past him, he was gone, just vanished.
Okay, so let's go back. If gain loss and we lose turbo boost, it's telling we still have fuel, but we're losing boost. So we either have a wet filter, or we have crack in the charge air cooler. We have a problem in the turbo, or the piping connecting the turbo to the charge cooler, charge air
Right.
cooler to, or the hose in the tube that connects the compressor to the charge air cooler, or to the air intake.
Right.
So if that's the case, that's a much easier fix than if it's fuel. So if the exhaust, and what you want to do is you want to pressurize, and you should make it at home. You want to take off the air intake pipe turbocharger, 5.5 inch, 6 inch, or 5 inch rubber elbow. You want to cut a piece of steel in a circle and drill in the center of it. You want to drill a 7/16 hole and tap it with 1/4 inch pipe tap, and put an fitting in, and put a check valve, not check valve, a quarter turn valve and a gauge, and put 20 pound of air in it, and as it drops around and listen for it. We check 100%, about 80% have a leak in the charge air system. And that's something that you could check every time you're at home. It'll take you 15 minutes to do it. You have a tremendous amount of fuel and problems being on the road and having a failure. So if the exhaust temperature is coming down and turbo boost is coming down, it's telling us that we are losing diesel fuel. We're not getting the fuel in the injector, or the injectors aren't in, because it takes fuel to make boost. So and then if that's the case, the first thing you do is change your fuel filter. If you have an electronic engine, which was check your fuel pressures. Somebody plug in. We have 100. And they can look. Did I lose you again?
You're slightly out.
Charlie, raise your hand.
We may have a.
All right. We may have a what?
We may have to. We may try dropping your video and bring you in on audio if you're okay with that, because that may increase your bandwidth.
Just going audio only.
Or yeah, if we put you in audio only, that may make it better for your transmission from there, just because it seems to be a bandwidth issue. I'm not sure why, but it is. At the bottom of your screen, if you're cool with that, you could try pressing the little camera button, and that will disable your camera, and that shouldn't. It should make your audio come through without a lot of the cutting out, possibly. I'm not sure. Not that we don't want to see your face, but that may be our issue, just too much bandwidth pushing through the system that you're on there.
Right. Where's the camera?
Should be down towards the bottom of your screen, or you may be able to just hit V as in Victor, on your keyboard.
It's on an iPad though.
Ah, right. Interesting. Let's see. Not sure how to do that. I've never done it on a tablet, Jeff. You ever worked on the tablet?
Mm. A while ago, but I've
We
got a keyboard on my tablet.
we could have him call into the hotline as well
Yeah, true.
and put him through that way audio.
Yeah, because this is good stuff. This is stuff that everybody should know.
Yeah,
Just so you guys know, when we do the conferences, this charge air cooler testing kit, that's one of the things we want to do is get everybody together, and we'll make them while we're there at the terminal. We'll go to Home Depot or wherever and get the
Yeah, I
parts.
actually have one, and yeah, we need to make that video happen.
And if we can get Bruce out for that, he was talking about doing it while he's already in Utah for his snowmobile trip next year. So we might be able to get him involved in that conference too.
I'm gonna type him a
What
message.
are you thinking, Charlie?
I'm gonna try to get him into the phone system.
While we're
Try to
waiting,
wait for him to come back.
there's a couple of questions from Facebook that we can answer real quick.
Sorry for the technology, guys. It's been a fun couple weeks.
Oh, sorry. So I'm kind of like I'm dealing with a sinus infection. Charlie's high, so just bear with us here.
Oh my gosh. But I'm determined to be here every week, y'all. Every week, come hell or high water.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, why don't you give him a quick call?
I do want to address something here from one of our members that they wanted us to ask him about canceling the DEF for better fuel economy. So I addressed this on the Facebook page, but I want to be really, really clear. Just flat out. So don't be deleting anything.
Yeah.
Pittsburg Power several years ago actually was involved in some of this stuff, and they ran into a legal thing. So if a shop like that couldn't get the regulations changed to do it, neither can we.
Hey, Jeff,
am I
check
back?
yeah, you're here. Check the messages, and if you could give him a call real quick, I'll put you out. Give him a quick call, and send him that number, and I'll have Rosie pick that up. You should be getting a call pretty soon, hopefully. Oh, perfect at the
end. Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome, baby. I got impeccable timing. So yeah, bear with us, guys. We're gonna get him back on the show. What we're gonna do is just bring him back in on a phone line, and we'll do it that way. Just do me a favor, my love. Make sure you label them so I know which ones to. If we get any other calls that I have him labeled.
Okay, doke.
Charlie, throw up the number for me.
813-548-3722.
Say again.
813-148-548-3722.
3722.
Bear with us, guys. We're going to make this happen. I'm going to go check the EIA site real quick. This is just great. Sorry for the slow pace today. Like I said, doubled my meds. That's been fun. You should have seen me earlier. I was a little bit of a zombie. I got a couple of days of getting used to this new one, and it's great stuff. But they did, you know what? They put me on more steroids, so that's kind of exciting. You get 12 more days of this stuff happening, and oh my gosh, we'll see what happens. EIA still has not updated. I'm gonna keep checking it through the show, and hopefully, if it'll pop up, I can do the quick calculation and get us the real numbers. Yeah, I was all excited. I got that email from EIA today, and it's like, oh, no release right now because the network's broken. I'm like, oh man. I know a couple of you guys grabbed that as well. You guys get that as well. So Jeff will be right back. He's gonna go make a call to Bruce. And so yeah, here we are. Hey, what's going on, guys? How y'all doing? Sorry, we jumped right into that stuff today. Oh my gosh, what are you gonna do? Come on, you gotta love this stuff. Let's see. Any of the rest you want to call in, do me a favor. Give us a couple minutes to get Bruce back on the line, then feel free to call in. And when you do decide to call in, here's the number right there. I'll just have it scroll across your screen right down there at the bottom. And yeah, let's see what happens. It could be fun. It's an interesting day. I wonder if Sue's out there. You out there, Sue? I always wonder if Sue's out there hiding out. She's lurking. Wonder about deleting my DEF. I never thought it was law breaking thing. Oh, absolutely. Deleting any of the emissions control stuff in these newer trucks is a great big ugly fat fine that will get you some ridiculous fines if you are caught. So, I know there's a lot of people out there that do it just because you can or you think it's cool. I caution you against it because it will get you. Yeah, for real. So, I'm just saying. Look, TK, someone else telling you to slow down. I'm just saying. TK, why? TK, my brother.
He's back to 70.
You better not be. We're going to fight. Be two big men fighting in a parking lot. People are going to YouTube us, might make World Star. Even Bobtail. I drive home at 55, 60 max. For real. When we're driving home Bobtail for our 2 hours and drive back, 55, 60. I don't care. When you get down there and get used to it, you will be squared away. Oh, hold on 1 second, guys. Hey, welcome back, Bruce.
We're trying different things, so.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Jeff's actually going to give you a phone call real quick too. He's going to give you a phone number to call in on if this doesn't work out. And we got a live phone line that'll pipe you right into the show and all that stuff. And we typically never have issues there at all. So if you're up for that.
I've got to give you a different number. I have to give you a different phone number to call me on.
Okay, let's see how to do that. Don't want to put that out on the air. Let's see. How do I do this? Can you email it to me real quick, Bruce? And you know what? I'll send you a quick email with that phone number. You don't even have to log out of this yet. Let me do that real fast for you.
There you go. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm a little slow, Bruce.
Well, you know why I hire 4 electrical engineers? Because of things like this.
Because you are a brilliant individual. You are a brilliant man, sir. I'm going to tell you right now. Is there anyone else in the industry that actually has something like that? Because you're the only one that I know of.
We're the only one in North America with 3 dynos and 4 electrical engineers.
That's amazing to me.
Wow.
And that is absolutely brilliant. Jeff, I'm going to email him the phone number real quick. He said he had to give you different phone numbers, and we can't do that on the air. So I'm going to do that real quick. Give me just a second, and I will make that happen.
Okay.
I'm going to put myself down and hide for a minute.
What if I call this 813?
Oh, yeah, it's right there on the screen. I'm sorry. That is a good number. That is a perfect number to call in on. Rosie will take your call, and we will throw you right back up on the show via phone. Technology is great
we can
sometimes,
actually get
sometimes not.
a discussion going.
I'm going to throw
813-548-3722.
I'm going to put myself in the green room.
Deb,
All right, babe.
I need some. I left my cell phone at home. I'm never without my.
Oh gosh, I wouldn't even know how to act.
No, me either.
Yeah.
I would be completely lost.
I go nuts between Phoenix and Kingman in that 20-mile stretch where there's nothing.
Right.
Should I hang up from here now?
Yeah, that'll fine. That'll be fine, Bruce, and we'll catch you on the phone in just a minute.
Okay.
So
Dude, guys, we will figure this technology stuff out.
We're gonna get it
someday.
worked out.
We'll
This
get
is the beauty. This man is on a boat, and this is awesome. Oh, and Rosie dropped out of the screen. There we go. How are you, Bruce?
All right.
All right.
Okay. So let's go back to when you're losing power and you're losing fuel mileage. We discussed that if you stay with the same amount of fuel, but you're losing your turbo boost, then your exhaust temperature is going to go up. Your boost will go down. So then we know to look for a boost leak or a turbo problem or an air filter problem.
Right.
By the way, if you've driven through a horrendous downpour and your air filter got wet, and that can happen, it will cause the turbo to throw oil into the charge air cooler.
Huh.
And the only way you can fix that is to replace the air filter, and the oil problem will go away because it doesn't ruin the seal. The seal is a steel piston ring.
Mm-hmm.
But it just creates so much vacuum that it sucks the oil right out. So let's go back now. So our exhaust temperature is coming down. Our turbo boost is going down. That means we're not getting fuel. So the first thing naturally is change the fuel filter. I can't tell you how many trucks come in, go on the dyno, and because of a lack of power. And the first thing we do is change the fuel filter. And sometimes they drive out there after 15 minutes being on the dyno with their full power back because they had a dirty fuel filter. Back when I got started in this industry in 1977, got started in the engine business. I've been in trucking since 1999. We used to change fuel filters every Saturday. It was just a normal thing that you did every Saturday morning.
Huh.
Now people want to do it every 30, 40, 50,000 miles whenever they're going to change oil. That might be a little too long. So if it's not the fuel filter, and if it's not the fuel pressure, then we have to look at the ECM. And the way we tell, if you're in the 800,000 mile range on your injectors, and we have you on the dyno, and through the ECM, we keep turning the engine up and giving it power. And on the dyno, it's showing no increase in power, then we know the injectors are doing everything they can do. And so it's the injector problems or problems with the injectors. So then we replace the injectors and you get full power back.
I'm guessing that's what my issue is right now. I'm personally noticing this, Charlie. I'm personally noticing a drop in power, and this might make you hurt a little bit. My injectors are the original injectors, and I'm at coming up on 1.7 million miles.
On a DDEC 5 14-liter?
Yes.
Yep. The injectors are done.
Yeah, they didn't do the injectors on my rebuild. My in-frame was done at 942, and they didn't do my injectors. That was my
Why
fault.
not?
It was my fault, Bruce, because I was broke and not prepared for it as I should have been. So they were like, well, let's do this and let's do that. And they're like, your injectors are working okay. We can leave those. And I'm like, okay. Because I'm not a smart man sometimes, Bruce.
All right. Well, let's talk about that.
Yes, sir.
on setting aside so much for maintenance and breakdowns.
Yes.
Pre-emission engines, it was 5 cents per mile. On emission-equipped trucks, it's 10 cents a mile. Ever since we came out with the max mileage fuel-borne catalyst, it probably drops it back to about 6 cents a mile.
Nice.
So if you're running a full emissions engine without the max mileage catalyst, and you put 3,000 miles on that week, $300 should go into the maintenance account, and that pays for oil, tires, breakdowns, injectors, rebuilds. And if you do that faithfully, on average, you'll have about $28,000 set aside.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very, very important to have a maintenance account.
As long as you don't dip into it, guys. Don't dip into it.
Yeah. And that honestly was my problem at the time. I had a string of bad things happen, and it was not great. It's just poor timing and bad planning on my part. So I fully take responsibility for what my engine is doing today.
I used to be a competition water skier, and I used ski nautique boats, and there was a ski nautique, and I just had to have it. And I didn't have the money. This was back in the early 90s. And so I dipped into my children's college funds.
Oh, no.
Oh,
yep. And I drained them. I drained
Lord,
them.
Yep.
And keep in mind, in 1992, we had a killer recession in trucking.
Yes, we did.
It almost took my life, that recession. So, but when it came time for them to go to college, I had to just pay a lot more.
Right.
Anyway, we're all guilty of that.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the max mileage fuel-borne catalyst. The stuff's very, very expensive. It was developed by Dr. Jane Gates. She's in her mid-60s. She was raised on a chicken farm in North Carolina. She was raised with 60,000 chickens. She has a phenomenal work ethic, like most people raised on a farm. And she went on to get her doctorate degree in chemistry and she's been 38 years in the chemical business. Chemical business for diesel fuel exclusively.
Okay.
And I met her in 2018 at the Louisville show. I saw her and she had nobody to talk to, and I felt guilty come Friday night. And I said, I'm going to give this lady about 5 minutes of my time. And it took about 2 minutes to realize this lady was brilliant.
Oh, man.
But the price of her chemical was staggering to me.
Right.
And then she said to me, she could see my booth from her booth, and we're very, very crowded in the show. In fact, some people say we're the most crowded booth in the entire Louisville show, and the Louisville show is the biggest truck show in the world.
Right.
So I felt pretty good about that. So she came and spent a little time in our booth, and she said to me, we'd like to come to your engineering center and test this. I said, well, what you want to do is going to take about 2 days, and it's $8,000 a day. So you're looking at $16,000. And she said, that's okay. Usually that stops most people.
Right.
She said, well, you're 92,000 per day cheaper than Southwest Research out of San Antonio. I said, I'm aware of that. And they only have a little bit more equipment than we do, but we deal with mostly owner operators and not OEMs.
Right.
And so they were there the following Monday, and we had a Kenworth, a 2000 W9 with a ISX 2015. And after 2 days, we noticed the NOx was down 30%.
Wow. Fuel
mileage was up 14%. But don't go by fuel mileage on the dyno, because that's controlled atmosphere.
Right.
Or controlled. Everything's controlled on the dyno. And then, but we noticed we burned 70% more of the soot and carbon in the combustion chamber.
Oh, wow.
So what's the emission system? Think about what the emission system is supposed to take out. Soot and carbon and NOx.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we reduced the NOx by 30% with the max mileage. And we take 70% of the carbon and soot out. And after about 3 months of running on a dirty engine, it's pretty clean inside. The engine's extremely dirty, like over 500,000 miles. it should go into a place such as ours, and there's several in Michigan and Ohio. It's called diesel force cleaning. It takes a day to do it. The machine only runs a couple hours, but by the time you get everything hooked up and cleaned out and change the oil, it's a good day's plus. And the foam that goes in will find every exhaust leak in the truck, and we repair those.
Nice.
So we tell people they're going to be there a day and a half. The engine is spotless inside, and then we take and wash the diesel particulate filter. We are part of the diesel DPF alternatives, or they're based out of Denver, Colorado.
What a great
They
service.
have what we consider the finest of DPF cleaning, and we just got on board with them in January. So we tried building our own equipment, and it worked okay. This stuff that they have is phenomenal. And when I say phenomenal, it starts at about $78,000 to buy that equipment.
Right.
Yeah, Charlie and I actually,
So,
when I got
it's
my
pricey.
stuff done by then, we looked into doing a franchise, and I'll be honest, we just couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, I was blown away by that price also. But hey, in 1981, I bought my first injector machine to calibrate big cam injectors, and it was $33,000. We're still using it, but in 1981, for $33,000, you might have as well asked me for $1 million, because in '81, whoever saw $33,000?
Right.
It's incredible. My labor rate back then was $15 an hour.
Oh, Lord.
And that puts things in perspective.
Right.
yeah.
All right. So back to the max mileage fuel-borne catalyst. Its main purpose is to burn soot and carbon. If you think of a circle, 360 degrees, it takes 15 degrees to ignite diesel fuel. The fuel injection engineers at the OEM level, their goal is to inject as much fuel into the combustion chamber as fast as they can and get it to ignite as fast as they can.
Right.
But the best they've been able to do is 15 degrees of that 360. The catalyst burns it in 10 degrees, so it burns it 33% faster.
Wow.
Here's what I want you to think about. It makes the engine quieter.
Oh, nice.
Why? Why does it make an engine quieter? I can't answer that, and there's a lot of people thinking about that.
Right.
But it'll make the engine quieter. It increases the torque because it's a hotter, faster burn. Sometimes exhaust gas temperatures will go down slightly. But after 3 months, if you pull your exhaust pipe off the turbo, there's no soot.
Huh.
If you pull the EGR valve off, there's no soot. The EGR valve is clean. The guy called me about 3 weeks ago, and he said, "Oh, man, I caught a dealer trying to screw me out of an EGR valve." I said, "How's that?" He said, "I've been on the catalyst for over 2 years." He said, "And I was in a dealership," and I forget the reason he was in there, but the mechanic came and said, "Hey, you need a new EGR valve." He said, "I walked back in the shop. They didn't have the valve off." He said, "Take the valve off." They took the valve off, and it's spotless. He said, "Tell me what's wrong."
Wow.
They were speechless.
Wow.
Yep.
And this has happened with turbos too. Think about the variable geometry turbo.
Right.
It's soot and carbon that builds up on the vanes and keeps it from working. But with the max mileage catalyst, there's no more soot and carbon to build up.
Mm-hmm.
So the turbos last a whole lot longer. That saves you $5,000 or $6,000 right there. So it costs a penny a mile to run it, but on emission trucks, it saves you 6 cents per mile.
Holy crap.
How'd you like to go to a stockbroker or an investment banker and say, "I'm going to give you $1,000 on January 2nd, and January 2nd next year, you're going to give me 6,000 back"?
Right.
They'd think you're crazy, right?
Yep.
That's what the max mileage catalyst saves you. 80% of the work in truck dealerships is emission problems.
Right.
And we had the same thing. 80% of our work was emissions. About 90% of our phone calls were emission related problems. Now we may get 2 calls a week with emission problems. And the first thing we ask people, are you running the max mileage fuel borne catalyst? And the answer is always, what's that?
Right.
And we say, do you listen to the radio show? What radio show? Do you read my articles? Didn't know you wrote any. Do you ever read my website? Do you ever watch my videos? No. In fact, I had 2 people today. And you get somebody, this one guy was 49 years old, 60 series D-Deck 4, rebuilt it, has 2-week cylinders. He knew absolutely nothing about us except, he's from North Carolina, he's not that far away. Somebody told him to call us. And when I get somebody like that, that call can last 4 hours. And I just can't devote 4 hours a day to one person like that. So it's imperative that you self-educate yourself on looking at our website, watching the videos, reading the magazine articles, listening to the radio show, listening to shows like this. Ignorance is not bliss.
No, it's
It
costly.
can take you broke.
It is extremely expensive to be ignorant in this
So,
industry.
so
Right.
I did the DPF alternative, the premium package about a year ago, and I've been using the max mileage in the engine ever since. So people know too. The part of the program, if you get the premium thing that I did, which you guys can go back and look at the video on that. In order for their warranty to be in effect, you have to use the max mileage. So that's they will back up their job as long as you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing on your end.
Right.
That's the deal.
Yeah,
And it's just
you'll never pay for another.
Right.
Go ahead.
And the cost is minimal.
You never pay.
In the last September, October, and I'm getting, because I get decent fuel mileage in my truck, and it's per gallon is what you dose with. I'm about 3/4 through my 3rd bottle at this point. So it just doesn't cost that much, guys.
Yeah, I clearly need to start using it myself.
If you take a 2002 and older non-emissions truck, or a 2003 through 2007 that's been repaired, and you people know what I mean when I say repaired, right?
Yep.
Okay. If after 3 months of running you drop the exhaust pipe down, you can change the exhaust system wearing a white shirt and not get dirty.
Wow.
Because there's no soot. We had one guy with a Western Star, and it was a repaired D-Deck 5 14 liter. And I was mentioning this on the radio show. I said, I'd like somebody to put a new stack on one side, and let's see how long it stays clean. And he did. He was from Minnesota. He called me. He said, man, you've got me in a pickle. I said, well, what's the pickle? He said, I got one clean stack and one dirty stack. He said, now I got to go buy a new stack.
That's great.
So, for the other side. So, and the stories just go on and on and on, and we have a whole list of them. And
wow.
Dwayne Erkey, who was raised on a dairy farm in Wisconsin, he's a great mechanic, great owner-operator, great snowmobiler, a good friend of mine, comes to the owner-operator snowmobile conferences.
Nice.
He's a Harley-Davidson rider. He called me one night and said, I know that 2011 Ultra Classic you have, it's a CVO 110. He said, I know you're unhappy with how it runs, and you're unhappy with the fuel mileage, which the thing only gets 35 miles to the gallon in Western Pennsylvania. My puppy sees something, so he gets excited. So anyway, Dwayne says, put the catalyst in your Harley. I said, Dwayne, this stuff is made for diesel fuel. He said, put it in the Harley and take it for a ride. In 16 miles, you'll be shocked. Well, that night I got home, I put it in. I went down to the local station. I put 6 cc's in because it's 1 cc per gallon. And it took about 10 miles, and I was surprised because with the Ultra Classic, the full fairing, you can hear the engine. You could hear the engine get quieter.
Wow.
And so I said, well, let's see. This thing, anything under 1,800 RPM, you basically wouldn't pull. I took it down to 1,000 RPM in 6 gear, eased into the throttle, and it accelerated.
Wow.
Now in town, when I'm normally in second gear, let this little guy on second gear to go around 90-degree corners. Now I can be in third gear because I can take it down to 1,000 and 1,200. And I went from 35 to 42 miles per gallon on that tank
Oh
full.
my God.
Nice.
I was
So,
shocked.
so Bruce,
there's a fellow from Jamaica, but he lived. Go ahead.
we do have a caller that we were really excited to have talk to you, and he's also a Harley guy, by the way. Do we want to go ahead and put Matt on? What he's got going on, Bruce, is he's got a brand new Volvo with the Volvo engine in it and everything.
Yep.
And we've been trying to help him out with his fuel mileage, and we're stumped. His truck is just all over the board for fuel.
Let me bring
mileage.
him in real quick.
And talking to other people and listen, that's like an 9 miles per gallon truck, isn't it?
Well, my good friend Al Hemerson has a new one. He's on his third trip, and he can only get 7.6.
Oh.
And
I'm averaging right now.
Oh, this is
I'm
Matt, by
averaging
the way.
right now with 43 in the box. I'm averaging 7.3 with 43 in the box. But when I'm averaging like 19 in the box, I'm getting 6.8. So I'm getting somehow I'm getting better fuel economy hauling heavier loads across 90 in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York than I am running the Midwest, going out to like Phoenix, Arizona, stuff like that, than when I am with light loads, like running insulation or something like that.
Are you the D12 automatic?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. So is 11th gear single over and 12th gear double over on that transmission?
I'm not honestly sure. We don't get to spec these trucks out.
Okay, let's assume that it is. What rear gears are in the truck?
This one. I just looked at it the other day.
Are they 228?
They're 264s.
264. All right.
Yep.
So, and what year is this truck?
Okay, 2022. Doesn't even have 40 miles on it yet.
Okay, 2022, 264 gears, low pro 22.5 tires.
Yep.
And what speed are you driving?
Say that again.
What speed are you driving?
65.
At 65 miles an hour, you're roughly 1450 on the RPM.
Sitting around 1300 on the RPM at that speed.
1300?
Yep.
Okay. Sounds like a single overdrive transmission, 1300. On the level, what's your turbo boost? No wind blowing at 65.
At 65, I average between like 0 and 5 psi. When I
That's
am
great.
climbing a hill, I jump up to about 32.
That's good. Is this a 500 horsepower engine?
425. 425, 1750 torque.
425, and they're giving it 32 pound of boost. Wow, that's amazing.
Yep.
Well,
Have
I'll
you
jump in here, Bruce,
tried
that with these lease trucks, we have to believe what they tell us about things like horsepower.
That's right on the block of the truck. Yeah, so I'm not sure how much they turned it down. I talked to Volvo. Volvo themselves said that castrated the truck.
Yeah.
we get a
Yeah,
lot
those are
of
the numbers that I
strange
physically
mixtures.
see printed on my truck.
Okay. So that new Volvo engine wants to run between 950 and I'm trying to think of the top RPMs, probably 13 to 1400, 14 max. If you drop it down, what have you been told?
When I'm climbing a hill, the max I've ever hit is about 1500.
Yeah, well,
And
you're way out of you're out of your power band at 1500 on all new engines, X15,
Okay.
the Volvo, everyone. They cut them all off by 1400. So by
Okay.
rights on a level cruise, you should be down around 1100. You're that truck should have 228 gears in it to run in direct, and then have for your overdrive when you're empty or bobtailing.
Okay.
But with 264s, we recommend, like on the D-Deck 4s, D-Deck 5s, and anything that's going to run 65 and less. The older trucks, 2007 and older, we recommend the 264s. And that
Okay.
puts you right around 13.5, 1400 at 65, and that's where they want to be. But your truck was built to be lower RPM. The new X15 want to be down around 1,000 RPM.
When I had my X15 and my T680, I had a 2019 T680. I loved that truck. It was getting great fuel economy. The truck pulled okay. This truck blows my Kenworth out of the water when it comes to climbing hills. You know that mountain on I-78 between New Jersey and Pennsylvania?
Mm-hmm.
Where they're by like the theme park and the Sam Adams brewery, stuff like that. I climbed that hill with 43 in the box at 55 miles an hour with this truck.
And with the X15, what'd you climb it?
25.
There was something wrong. You should have got the one of our remote tuners or got stopped in at our shop and let's set it up right.
That actually brings up a quick question, Bruce, if you don't mind me jumping in here. Tuning a motor. So we have these guys that are on these lease contracts, and they seem to be real picky about us getting motors tuned. We don't like it. It's one of my big sticky points with their lease program at Swift, and they're aware of it. It's not like a big secret. We are a constant thorn in their side, and we talk to the shop people and all that stuff on a regular basis, trying to advocate for these guys to be able to go out and do some of these things that will make their trucks more economical and efficient. And they seem to have this sticky point about us getting motors tuned in any way, shape, or form. They're like, "Oh, well, it's going to void the warranty and this and that." How do we approach them on that sort of thing? Any advice on that?
I can tell you, whenever our engineers tune them, the guys at the shop level will never see it.
Okay, fair enough. I like that answer.
Let me tell you this. There's 17,000 parameters in an X15. I don't know what the Volvo is. I don't know what the Detroit is, the total parameters. The ISX, when it came out in 98, had 8,400 parameters. That was more than the space shuttle had.
Wow.
So
that's insane.
Anyway, with 17,000 parameters, we change about 1,200.
Wow. Okay.
And when we're doing our tune for performance and fuel mileage, we change 1,200, and no one's ever been caught.
I like it.
Now, with the brand new trucks, you can't go wild because the turbos are so small to make boost down to 1,000 RPM that they restrict us, and that's why they cut the horsepower back at 1,400.
Okay.
Guys that are doing heavy haul are still thinking 411 gears and tall rubber, and that does not work
Right.
to do heavy haul because they're trying to run new engines at 16 and 1,800, and ECM's cutting them back. So,
Wow.
and so far, we've never had a person lose warranty from a tune.
Okay.
But man, stay away from truck stop tuners.
Right.
There was a guy, Diesel Doctor, in Effingham, Illinois, and some of these other guys, a group of people out of Canada. We're every day redoing their stuff.
Oh, wow.
They're not engineers.
Right.
I wouldn't try to do it. So I hire engineers.
So this is guys too. So on the newer engines, like Bruce, I've got a 2016 Detroit DD15, and I was looking on your website, and it is more costly for my truck than say Charlie's truck to have this done. So think of it this way: if you have
That is
that Diesel
correct.
Doctor dude do something and Bruce has to fix it, it's kind of like hiring a non-journeyman contractor to work on your cabinets and then trying to
Right.
sell your house. Okay. Spend the money.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
you're going to make
this
it
is
back.
making you money, right?
You're going to make it back in efficiency. So,
And yeah, and if we do a tune and you get into a truck dealership and they wipe it out, we put it back in there for $200 or $300.
nice.
Oh, nice.
So, would you recommend that I bring the truck in to you guys to look over? And
I
try to
think
figure
you should
something
make
out
an
with it?
appointment with Leroy in my engineering department. You should make an
Okay.
appointment with him. Usually we can get you in with 2 or 3 day notice. Mechanical shop, we're booked till after Labor Day. It's a huge problem in today's industry is nobody wants to be a mechanic. We have 5 and we need 10.
Right.
It's the hardest thing in the world to get.
Understand it.
Just like people trying to get drivers, right? So
Yeah.
the general public's in for a rude awakening in the next few years with the price of
Absolutely.
fuel, no mechanics, no company drivers. A lot of strange things are going to happen. A lot of people still don't realize what a truck does for them.
Well, it's paying for my house.
You know, I'm down
That's
here.
what it's
Yeah, I
doing.
will.
Yeah, I'm down here around Annapolis, Maryland, and they're very liberal. And I try to talk to these people, and they'll just look at you like you're an idiot.
Right.
And you'll ask them questions like Jay Leno used to go out on the streets in New York and say, "Where'd you get that sweater? We got it at the store." He'd say, "How did it get to the store?" Well, they didn't know. Well, you know,
Exactly.
people just don't know. So
Now,
anyway,
I have
so
one
that's
more
another.
question for you.
That's something else people need to do is start doing your own maintenance on your truck. Get to know your truck and do your oil changes and brake jobs and things. And people that say, "Well, I'm not mechanically inclined," those of us that are, we learned it 1 bolt at a time. Everybody can do it. You just have to take the initiative to do it.
That's what I do. I don't like paying $165 an hour for, to change a pulley or a
Airbag.
tensioner, you know what I mean? An airbag. And honest to
Right.
God, my wife and I, Bruce, my wife drives nights with me. We only work a couple days a week, but when we're out on the road and doing stuff like that, like my wife and I changed the airbags on the truck in a hotel parking lot on our 2 days off in Texas. And the cost of the airbags, and we looked at a YouTube video, you know what I mean? And it said, they're like, "Hey, just do this, this, and that." And so I'm like, I did one just to figure out how to do it, and then I told her how to do it, and she did the remaining 3. you know,
Ah.
and what I did is I videoed it because it's almost to a point where I'm trying to shame people into doing some of these, especially these easier jobs. If my little
Yeah.
5 foot and nothing Latino wife can change the airbags on our truck, why can't you? Why are you paying? A great example. The TA wanted what was it, $430 some odd dollars or something like that to change the cab airbags on my tractor. And it was ridiculous. The parts and the labor were ridiculous. They were trying to charge me $200 for the parts that they were going to get from Freightliner shipped to them that day, and the price on the part was $105 a bag. I went up to Freightliner myself, grabbed the bags for $98 for the pair, came home, used a scissor jack, changed it, took us 7 minutes per bag. And it was done. And again,
All right,
my
so-
wife did it.
Yeah. The other thing too,
But
like,
think about this.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Go ahead. If you
Yeah,
take a
I,
Saturday and you
Mhm.
work 6 hours on your truck and you do general maintenance, that saves you a day of downtime.
Right.
It saved you $1,000 from the load that you missed. It saved you, our labor rate's $125, but I know a lot are $150, $165, $200 and some dollars in
Right.
Odessa and Midland, Texas. So take that 165 times that 6 or 8 hours.
Yep.
So it's not that you lost 6 hours of your time. You saved yourself almost $2,000.
Right.
Mhm.
For
And
some
the other
very
thing
simple
too,
maintenance.
So
is, so what I did, I have a friend that's a mechanic for another carrier, and I just paid him to show me stuff on my truck, learn how to change my own oil, all this stuff.
Mhm.
And so, when I'm doing my oil, you're down there already. And so you're like, wait, what's that? Maybe I should look at that.
Right.
That doesn't look right. Because I've
You
had the
start
truck long
noticing the
enough now to where
changes.
I know how things are supposed to look, and that don't look right, so I better look at it. So you can take care of some serious
Back,
preventative maintenance.
if you see a frayed hose,
Mm-hmm.
telling you it's rubbing on something, and repair it now, because Stratoflex Air Equip hose sells by the inch, and it's much cheaper for you to replace that hose than to pay a shop to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to the catalyst. If you have a mid-60s muscle car, those were designed for high octane, high leaded gasoline. Back in the 60s, when we would pour gas into our lawnmower, you could see the vapors coming out of the tank. You could smell them. Today, you don't get that. Mid-60s muscle cars, this guy had a stock 327 in a 65 Impala, still had a quadrajet carburetor. He had a hesitation, couldn't find the problem. Put catalyst in his gasoline, the problem went away. Another owner-operator from Jamaica, lives in Oklahoma, has a 2002 Chevy Astro van. I didn't even think any of those were still around. He had hesitation. He heard us talking about putting in gasoline. He called me. He said, man, the hesitation's gone.
Wow.
So it works great in lawn tractors. The John Deere lawn tractors that are made in China that you buy at Lowe's and Home Depot, they'll actually start without using the choke. It'll crank for 4 or 5 seconds, but it'll start. I have 2 of those, and if I leave it in the yard and come in and have dinner and I'd go back out, I'd have to choke it. Now I don't have to choke it. I choke it the first time I start it, but if there's any temperature at all in the engine, it fires right up, and it's quieter. I can hear the blades turning, hear the bearings on the blades turning. So it works wonders. One guy told me on his leaf blower, it used to take 5 pulls to start it. Now it starts in 1.
Wow.
I have a new Stihl leaf blower. It's not starting in 1 pull. It takes about 3, but anyway, it works great in a lot of things.
Right.
All right, so
I'm gonna have to
the
try
goal
my Harley.
is put it in the Harley. You'll be surprised. 1 cc. You'll need a syringe. You can buy them for $1 a piece on Amazon, or you can stop by CVS and they give them away for free.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try this.
After a while, the catalyst will swell up the plastic O-ring in the syringe, but you'll get 5 or 6 uses out of it. If you pull it apart and put grease on it the first time, that seems to extend the life.
Hey, Bruce, Matt actually had one more question you wanted
All right,
to ask.
guys. Thank you.
Did you want to get that
Oh,
in,
yeah.
Matt?
Go ahead.
Oh, that was. I was just the question I was gonna ask was, did I hear that right earlier? Like I joined in when that conversation was going on, so I
You
caught
broke
half
up.
of that.
Ask it again.
So I caught half. I caught half of what they were talking about with the Harley and the fuel and the
Oh,
cataclysm.
gotcha.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, 1 cc per gallon.
All right.
1
I'm gonna have
cc
to,
per
check
gallon.
that out.
The newer Harleys are 6-gallon tanks, so you put 6 cc's in and fill it up, and
I have a
does
20,
does
so
wonders
have to
for
try
the
that.
Harley.
All right, Matt.
Yeah, I'm
Thanks
gonna
for
have to
calling
try
in,
that.
buddy.
All right. Thank you.
And the fellow with the Volvo with the poor fuel mileage, yes, give our engineering department, that's Leroy, give him a call, tell him you were talking to me, and say I'd like to get this in and get it on the dyno and have you guys look at it. My fuel mileage is poor. You're in the 6 and 7s,
All right, will do.
and
I appreciate it.
and he'll get you in, and let's go from there. And by the way, I do have Dr. Jane Gates working on a new formula. We had it out 2 years ago, and we never perfected it. It's strictly for fuel mileage. It's not the burn soot or carbon. It's strictly does fuel mileage, but it works in conjunction with the max mileage. I have about 15 owner operators I'm going to send a gallon to here in probably next week because she's cooking it right now,
Nice.
and we're gonna see what that does. There's one of the first people she ever worked with. He has a 2013 T600. He pulls enclosed car hauling trailers. He was $8,000 to $12,000 a year on maintenance on emissions, and he started on the catalyst in 2017 and hasn't spent a dime since. Oh, one sensor. He had one sensor. Speaking of sensors, when you have a
Yes.
sensor that's bad, take it apart, clean it with brake clean, put it back together. Chances are it's going to work. We have an old machine that's an ultrasonic cleaner that we would clean injector tips in it. We take sensors apart, put them in the ultrasonic cleaner for 20 minutes, put them back together, and they work.
Wow.
See, that's a question I had because I've got an issue with my after treatment, Bruce. A low quality DEF light that derates me and everything. Doesn't matter where I buy DEF. That thing, if I'm pulling a steep hill for a little bit, that sucker will go off, and then it goes away after about an hour. But it kills me on these hills. And I was thinking that
That's
it's
a
probably the
DD13?
sensor. Yeah, DD15. Yeah.
Is that a DD15?
Mm-hmm.
Can you get into my engineering department? Do you ever get near us?
I can get near you. I do all lower 48 states, so it's just a matter of getting a load up there.
Okay.
I've got my guy in
And,
Macon. My guy in Macon that's my that did my clean
From
for
DPF Alternatives.
DPF Alternatives. I've been in contact with him already because it seems like it shouldn't be doing that, but yeah.
give Leroy a call. Call Leroy at my shop or JR. JR was an electrical engineer from Samsung Televisions in Riverside, California when we hired him. He's been here, I think, going on 8 years now. He's 6'5", 400 pounds, and has a size 18 shoe.
Good
That's
Lord.
not your typical electrical engineer.
No doubt.
And when he stood in my doorway, he had a black T-shirt on. He has a buzz haircut. He says, "I'm here to apply for the position of electrical engineer." My office is 20 feet long. I lean back in my chair. I say, "You're not an electrical engineer." He said, "Yes, I am. Samsung Television, Riverside, California." I said, "What are you doing here in Saxonburg, Pennsylvania?" He said, "My wife did a cost of living study, and she said north of Pittsburgh was one of the cheapest places to live, plus her brother's here." And then he said, "I don't like Californians, and they don't like me." I said, "Well, why don't they like you?" He said, "Look at me." And I said, "Well, yeah, you don't look like a California beach bum, do you, or a surfer boy?" So
Nice.
I said to him, I said, "Hold up your hands." And he's got these pretty big hands. I mean, he's 6'5". And I said, "What do you know about ECMs?" He said, "I don't know anything about them. But do they have printed circuit boards?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Then I can fix them."
Nice.
I said, "Hold up your hands." And I saw his paws. I said, "You can't fix printed circuit boards." He said, "Oh, yes, I can." And on some of the Detroit ECMs, there's this one. It's about 1.25 inches square. There's 128 solder joints around it.
Good Lord.
He can solder each one of those.
Wow.
And it turns out the guy's a gearhead, and he really took to the dyno.
Wow.
And he's taught me stuff about the dyno. And
Nice.
he's just really smart and really took off on this stuff, and he loves what he does. So he's our remote tuner that he's available from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m., 7 days a week. He does the tunes on the weekend and the evenings from home.
Wow.
Oh,
He
wow.
does a lot of troubleshooting. But I got another problem. All of our remote tuners are really falling in love with this guy, and they'll call him on the weekends just to talk to him. His wife sometimes says, he says, "I want to go somewhere," and he's on the phone talking to owner operators.
Wow. Hey, Bruce, we
But
got a question here real quick.
we like what we do. Yeah, go ahead.
fellow by name is CW. I'm assuming fella. Anyhow, how often do you recommend overheads? Books on these newer trucks call for 400 to 500,000 miles.
Yeah, we recommend 250,000. Do it at 250, see if it's out any, and then maybe do it at 500. And if it's holding, then you can continue. But on the old big cams, we used to say once a year
Really?
because we had aluminum rocker boxes.
Right.
And you don't have aluminum rocker boxes now. You have overhead cams. Back in the days of the big cam, if you set it once a year, it would give you about 30% longer engine life. It was very critical.
Oh, wow.
And if you ever see how fast they do them when they're on the assembly line, you might want to do it at about 25,000 on a brand new engine just to make sure it's right.
Right. We have another question.
And really, you
I'm
can.
sorry. Go ahead.
You can do it at home if you get the book and study it and you learn and ask another mechanic at Detroit or someplace just how to do it. It doesn't take a lot of tools.
I
It's a
thought
feeler
about doing
gauge.
it myself, and I'm not going to lie, it intimidated me a little bit, and I thought, man, I don't want to open up this motor with my meaty paws and mess something up. So honest to God, the only people that have opened up my motor since the rebuild has been Detroit and Ocala. I love those guys, but damn, they are expensive.
Yeah. Well, you can imagine I was 27 years old. I got in. Came from the race car industry and from dispatch. I was in dispatch for 9 years, dispatch and traffic and transportation. In fact, I have an associate degree in traffic and transportation of all things.
Wow.
But one company made me go to night school one day a week for it. And I had been in the industry for a couple of years, so it was a pretty easy class. So anyway, when I pulled the valve covers off a big cam and I looked in there and I saw 18 rocker arms, I said, "You got to be kidding me.
Wow.
What do these things do?" And you learn it one at a time. So
yeah, there's another guy that's
hard stories.
There's another guy, Bruce, that's asking how far between oil changes on a 2018 Freightliner. So let me tell you though, on these lease purchase deals, they don't let these guys put the OPS on, so that's not an option for them. Me, I've got the OPS, so I change the oil when they tell me to. So.
Okay, so you can put the OPS on, still do the change at 50,000 or whenever the OEM tells you to. You're just going to keep it cleaner because you're going to filter down to 1 and 2 micron, where a standard full flow oil filters between 20 and 40 micron. A young person can actually see 40 micron dirt. The clearance in a rod and main bearing when you're going up a grade is a half a micron.
Oh, crap.
So why do you want 40 micron dirt in your oil when the clearance is a half a micron? So whenever these people say don't put a bypass filter on, they're very foolish, because bypass filters are great even if you don't extend the drains.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's a way we approach this argument, Jeff, with IEL and their magical decisions on some of these things is maybe not extending the drain periods, but allowing them
still
to
doing the bypass. Yeah.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, 50,000 miles is a long time on oil. Keep in mind, I'm 73 years old, so I'm old school.
Right.
And I learned a lot of things the hard way, and I looked at so many rod and main bearings and cam bearings and wear in engines that I like clean oil, and I love bypass filters. I started out by doing oil analysis and bypass filters in 1979.
Wow.
And we've stayed with them. We took over OPS because they were having some issues up in Connecticut. The president was from Pakistan, and he spent most of his time in Pakistan. I don't know if the guy ever saw a diesel engine.
Oh, wow. That's interesting, actually.
I didn't know that part. Yeah, they what we try to do, Bruce, is we try to get these guys to that purchase point where they're going to own the truck and have that nice pink slip in their filing cabinet at home. So, if we could get IEL to at least let them put this thing on there. It's just better for
Right.
the truck, even if they do keep the standard oil drains.
Think about this. What are the two items that wear out an engine if you don't all out abuse it? People don't. Most owner operators today do not abuse their engines. So what are the two things? One is silicon. That comes past the air filter. That's the fine dirt. That is nasty stuff. It can take the crosshatch off your cylinder walls in 30 days going down the highway. So you want to always watch that air intake system. We tell people once a year, take it all apart, wash it, and then get white lithium grease in a spray can and spray inside the housing, spray the rubber elbows or the plastic elbows and the plastic piping and the aluminum piping. Mag chloride and salt will get between the clamp and the rubber elbow and the aluminum pipe and get in there and corrode and actually expand that clamp and let dirty air in.
Wow.
And if you're sprayed with white lithium grease, the next time you take it apart, if there's an air leak coming in, you'll see it because it'll be a black streak.
Huh.
So you
Charlie
want to on oil analysis.
An oil analysis.
Go ahead. An oil analysis, the silicon, you want to see it to be between 3 and 8. I like it to be between 3 and 6. But if I go over 8, I'm looking for why am I getting dust into my engine?
Right.
And then the other thing that wears out the engine is soot and carbon from combustion. Anytime you burn fuel, you have soot and carbon. And that's the beauty of the max mileage fuel-borne catalyst, burning 70% more of the soot and carbon. So if we keep the carbon and soot out of the engine and we keep the air coming in from the air filter clean and we keep the overhead set, these things might run 2 million miles.
Right.
We don't know yet because we only started with the catalyst in 2018.
Right. I clearly need to get this catalyst into my truck because I know it's going to make a difference. I honestly, Bruce, I just put it off. I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm doing with this truck. I've put I bought it at 400,000 miles, and like I said, I'm coming up on 1.7. You'd think I know what I'm going to do with this truck. I'd love to keep it, but due to some bad planning, like I said, on my part, some things have happened. So I may actually park the truck, and then I'm gonna actually go back through and strip it down to frame and rebuild from there. And so I've been speaking to, I believe it was Eric up in the shop. He was getting me prices and stuff like that on getting a full out of frame done, all the bells and whistles and all that stuff. And so I mean that's a big number, but I believe it's a number that's worth paying because I truly believe that I will be able to see a lot more with this motor.
So Bruce, I just looked at my last oil sample, and I'm at my silicon number says it's 4 off my last sample, and that's at the oil was fresh 30,000 miles ago. That's 30,000 miles on the oil.
And what's your iron?
Iron. I'm getting old, so give me a second here. My iron's at 29.
Okay.
My iron's at 29.
So that's not bad. That's not bad for 30,000. Years ago, we like to see it 20 and under. We had reasons for that. 4 1/4 B Caterpillars usually ran in 10,000 miles, ran around 18 parts. I had my brother in a 444 Cummins, and it was at 54 parts per million. And he was on the same run as the Caterpillar. We sold Marmon trucks back then, and these were Marmons. The 4 1/4 B was at 18, and the 444 Cummins, both trucks were 1990s, was at 54. So I put the Harvard Lubrifiner bypass filter on, and it brought it down to 32. So that's good from 54 to 32, but I still wasn't happy with that. So then I put a spinner 2 on it. I was reluctant to try a spinner 2. I didn't believe you could spin oil and spin dirt out of it.
Right.
The spinner 2 brought it from 32 down to 12.
Oh, wow.
Huh.
So back then, we always changed oil at 10,000 miles, or we changed oil when you burn the first gallon.
Right.
When your filtration system can no longer get the dirt out of oil, it gets between the rings and the crosshatch on the cylinder walls, and it wears at that, and then the rings can no longer seal because of the dirt. It means it's time to get the oil out of the engine.
Mhm.
To the 444, we didn't burn our first gallon then till 14,000 miles. And by the way, this truck was set up at 700 and some horsepower from 444.
Wow.
But my brother was very gentle with it. He was gentle. And it ran 1,300,000 before we built it. So, and that was unheard of out of a mechanical engine back then.
Yeah.
But anyway, we would change it at 15,000 miles, spent $700 and some back in 94 on 2 forms of bypass oil filtration. It was a lot of money then, but we increased our oil drain by 50% and we didn't wear the engine out.
Wow.
And we would run in 15,000 miles about 12 to 16 parts per million on iron. And the iron is your cylinder walls wearing out. So you don't want iron to be high, but you're okay where you are, 30,000 miles.
Yeah, one of the things I like about what the lab sends me from Horizon is they make it kind of idiot proof. If there's a problem, it shows up yellow, orange, or red. So I know it draws the eye. The only problem I'm really experiencing, and
That's
Charlie
right.
was telling me that this might be normal, is my base numbers drop like a rock on my oil. Like I said, I've got 30,000 on this sample, and I'm at 2.93 on the base number. Last time I changed it, I was all the way down to 1.7. And that was at 100.
So my understanding is Donaldson, I think it's Donaldson, makes a full flow filter that has base in it.
Okay.
So look for a Donaldson filter that has added base that's equivalent with your part number and try that. Let me know if the base comes back up.
Interesting.
Okay.
Hey, Bruce, we actually had a question from a viewer, Chris. He's asking if Pittsburg Power has their own biocide additive, and if not, what would you recommend?
We do not make a biocide additive, and that's to kill the algae, right?
Right.
He's trying to kill algae.
Yep.
Lucas had a product, but they made him take it off the market for some reason. I'm trying to think of whose we use. I know we have it on the shelf, and Penray. I think it's made Penray.
Yeah,
And I'm trying to think of the name of it.
Remember Kevin used to talk
Comes
about
to
one all
me
the
all-
time, and I actually went out trying to find it, and then found out you can't buy it in the state of Florida. I'm like, okay.
You know, it's like Jane Gates says, don't get the catalyst on your hands. Well, I'm telling you, I've had it on my hands a lot, but
Yeah,
maybe I'll get to.
I heard
might
it's
get some
rough
form.
stuff.
It's pretty nasty stuff.
It takes a lot to get it off, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, boy, I'll tell you, like I spilled some the other day in the back of my pickup truck, and I scrubbed on that.
Oh man.
Yeah, like if I spill a little bit when I'm transferring from the big bottle to the little bottle, my only hope is to put it out in my spare tire and just let it air. Otherwise, it just fumigates the whole
I
cab.
tell you, we got a school bus and a tour bus company in Western Pennsylvania, and they were having all kind of emission problems, and so they tried a catalyst, and then went out and did a seminar for them, and they love it. And boy, the mechanics do not allow the owner to run out because they don't want to work on those emission problems.
Right.
But they asked me how does it burn if you put a match to it? And I said, well, I don't know. So we went out in the garage by an open garage door, and they had this steel top workbench. We put probably 5 or 6 cc's down and hit it with a Burnsomatic torch. It didn't light.
Huh.
I thought, you got to be kidding me. So then we put the same amount on a piece of cardboard, and instantly it flashed about the size of a softball.
Oh, wow.
And then we realized it has to have something else to burn with it.
Huh.
It's not flammable on its own.
So like
That's kinda neat.
some of the additives over the years that I've listened to Kevin, a lot of people claim to have a catalyst, but when you look at it, it's not really a catalyst.
Yeah.
This is a true catalyst.
Yeah,
By
the other
definition.
problem is, they got injector cleaner, they got lubricity, they got this, they got that. Well, you can only put so much in a gallon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to refer to that gallon bottle as a cubic foot of air. So a diesel engine and gasoline engine in our bodies all burn oxygen.
Right.
And at sea level, I think there's about 20% oxygen in a cubic foot of air, but at 10,000 feet, there's half. There's 10% at 10,000 feet. So when you're going across the Rockies and you're coming out of the Eisenhower Tunnel and over Vail Pass,
Mm-hmm.
you only have 1/2 the oxygen. By the way, that's where we snowmobile up there. And if you wonder why the truck doesn't run as good, park your truck up there and run up the hill.
Yeah.
And see how far you can get. You may get 50 feet and you're huffing and puffing. So you have to deal with that. And high heat, 95 degrees in Florida with 90% humidity, does the same thing. Humidity displaces and heat displace oxygen. So you have less oxygen in that cubic foot. Well, the same thing happens in catalysts. So if the fuel mileage improver, if we put it in the catalyst, so it's in one jug, it's going to take up 50% of the volume.
Right.
So now it's going to take 2 ounces to 25 gallon. So the question is, do we do that? Do we phase out the existing catalyst and use the new catalyst in 2 ounces per 25 gallon, or do we just sell it separately in its own gallon?
Right.
So far, it's going to be separately, but some people want it mixed already. And then we get some people that are too lazy. They don't want to take the time to figure out, well, they're going to take 150 gallons. So that's going to take, 150 divided by 25. Gee, how much is that? It's 6, right? 6 ounces. To me, that's pretty simple math. If you can't figure that out, you shouldn't own a truck.
Right.
Or you could just,
Then some people say, well, I don't know how many gallons.
Or you could just read the bottle.
Go ahead. Yeah, it's right in the back of the bottle. It's right on the back of the bottle. Some people never see that. And, I play mind games with myself. When I'm driving one of my turbocharged vehicles, whether it's a pickup, whether it was my Kenworth, I know how many pound of boost it's going to take me to go up a hill, because I've been up that hill before and I remember that number. But I also, when I go in to buy fuel, I think, I've got 2/3 of a tank. I hold in my pickup 34 gallon. I'm going to take about 25. So I'll put 25 in the diesel pickup. It's a 3,500 Ram with the Cummins. I'll put in 25 cc's, or basically 1 ounce.
Right.
And I'm usually within a gallon of guessing. So
yeah, we had a debate about that when I first started using it, because how much do you put in, and do you put it in before you fuel or after you fuel? And I've started actually doing that. Again, I've had my truck long enough to where I know how much I'm going to put in, and sometimes it takes a little bit more than I anticipated, but that's just another 1/4 of an ounce at the top of the tank or something.
Yeah, then it's always best to put a chemical in and let it mix as it's as you're pouring fuel in. And if you forget to and you put it in on the top, it's going to get mixed anyway, because an engine returns more fuel than it uses. So If you ever have an engine that doesn't want to come back to idle, it's the fuel return line. If it's not returning fuel back to the tank, the injectors are still pumping fuel, and you take your foot off the throttle, and the engine wants to keep running.
All right.
Doesn't happen as often on the new electronic engines. It was a problem on the older mechanicals.
Yeah. So here's a question that I always find a little entertaining, Bruce. Do those oil treatment additives for oil actually work, or is it a scam? From Mr. Timothy in our core group. Do you know of any oil additives that actually do what they think that they say?
The only ones I use is Lucas Oil. I'm a big fan of Forrest Lucas. We're personal friends. We've done several seminars for the RV industry. I've spent time at his house, time at his plant in Corona, California, and his plant down in Corydon, Illinois, or Corydon, Indiana, right across the river from Louisville. And Forrest was, he's a self-made guy, high school education. His first truck was a Ford dump truck with a gasoline engine. Couldn't wait to get home from school so he could haul dirt. I think he was 14 years old when he started doing that. Then he got into diesel engines, and then he moved to California, left Columbus, Indiana, and he had 6 tractors and several trailers, and the drivers would not check the hub oil on the trailers, and going out across the Mojave Desert, they would call him up and burn wheel bearings.
Right.
So he started mixing products together to make oil slipperier, and his wife, Charlotte, she said, Forrest, whatever you're doing, we're getting better fuel mileage, but people didn't care back then. It was 35, 40 cents a gallon. And he was loading produce one day on the West Coast. And you recall when you'd get pears, they would be in these cardboard boxes with the green paper around them, and there was this waxy film on the cardboard.
Right.
Any of you old enough to remember that?
Yes, sir.
Well, this was really sticky, and he had it all over his hands. And he said to the guy at the produce yards, he said, my God, what is this stuff? And the guy said, man, I don't know. We get it. It comes with the boxes, and we got to spray it on, and it protects the produce. And he's playing with this stuff in his hands. And he said, give me the name of the people that you get this from. So they gave him the box manufacturer. So the box manufacturer, he called them. They gave him the chemical company. So he gets the head chemist. He said, my name's Forrest Lucas. I have 6 trucks, and I've been mixing some oil products together to try to make oil slicker. And he said, tell me about this stuff that's on these cardboard boxes. And the guy said, well, it's a polymer. And it's very expensive. That's why we just put a thin coating on. In fact, you got to heat it before you can use it. It's thick like Karo syrup. And Forrest said to him, what would happen if I could put that in my oil products? And the chemist said, that'd be the best thing you could ever do. And that's the base of Lucas Oil.
Pears.
When you're walking around his big mixers, he has cardboard on the floor because some of it gets on the floor, and you're picking up your feet, and it's sticking to the cardboard.
Right.
I went into one vat and I touched it, and I'm playing with it, and it's real sticky. You're opening up your fingers and it's sticking to it. He said, that's about 50 cents worth. So,
wow. That's some spendy
so
stuff.
anyway, older engines, big cams, 4 1/4 B cats, old mechanical Max, Detroits, 2-stroke Detroits. They do not like today's diesel fuel. They love the catalyst, and they also love Lucas fuel conditioner because of the lubricity.
Right.
So
How often would
you
would
can't buy
recommend
great
to put,
diesel fuel today.
How often would you recommend to put in
the Lucas
the
in
Lucas,
on
right?
Every tank full on an older engine.
What about the newer ones, Bruce?
N14, it's not a problem in the newer trucks because they were designed for the ultra low sulfur fuel. When they made the ultra low sulfur fuel, twice they took the aromatics out, the paraffin and what was the third thing? Aromatic, paraffin, and there were 3 things they took out. They ruined the fuel, but the engineers on the OEM side were able to accept it and design engines to run with it. But old engines don't like it. 2002 and older engines do not like today's fuel.
Well, what would you recommend on, like,
We've had import.
I'm sorry, I'm running that
Okay.
that Series 60, the 14 liter without the DPF. I got lucky and got that first half of the 07 run. So I guess it's an 06 motor,
Right.
technically. Would you recommend
Just
using
run the
product on that?
catalyst in it.
Oh, just catalyst. Okay, cool. That'll make me happy.
Just the max mileage catalyst. Yeah. So a 1 gallon of catalyst treats 3,200 gallon of diesel fuel.
Right.
1 gallon of Lucas treats 400 gallon because the Lucas has injector cleaners, lubricity, and all kind of things in there. So it's back to that 1 gallon. You can only put so much stuff in 1 gallon, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Charlie, you look like you have a question.
No, I was reading through. I apologize. I went silent there. Sorry,
So,
guys.
since Bruce, you called me out on
Chris
this.
have a question?
Chris said he's liking the origin stories. He look. Most of us just love hearing you talk, Bruce. So I mean, you could talk about anything,
So,
and you've got us. I mean, honest to God.
Yeah, but so since Bruce actually called me out on this when we spoke the other day, because one of the first things he asked me is, "Are you using the max mileage in your 2016 truck?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Where are you buying it?" Well, I'm buying it at the Iowa 80, and I could almost feel you shake your head, Bruce, because that is the most expensive way to buy it is at a truck
I love
stop.
the people at Iowa 80, and they're expensive. You know, we have 7 TAs that have it now, and I don't know what they're going to charge for it, but you know, I wish they would lower their price. If you buy it from us and we do auto ship it, you buy it from us and you go on the auto ship program, we ship it right to your home every 6 months or 6 weeks or 2 months, whatever your consumption rate is. And you can change that, and you can call up and say, "Hey, I've got 2 gallon, hold off. Don't ship me one, skip the next shipment," and stuff like that.
Okay.
But we eat the freight. The freight's usually $25 a gallon when we ship 1 gallon. But our dealers are charging $230 a gallon because they have to buy 30 gallons at a time.
Right.
And so they get it on a pallet, and it costs them almost $8 a gallon. So that's why they have to add the freight to it. Right. So they're $230. But the truck stops are expensive. You know, all these little convenience stores that sell gasoline. You know, all the little convenience stores that sell gasoline. You ever look at the price of stuff in there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Friend of mine left Pittsburgh and went to San Diego, and he bought 3 Arcos, Atlantic Richfield.
Right.
He told me I said he used to sell spray equipment for DeVelbus, and he left that and went to the convenience stores. He said they're a license to steal.
Wow.
That was 45 years ago.
Wow.
I never forgot that.
Yep.
But, you know, you're outside pumping gas. You go in. I love ice cream. I love ice cream bars and things. And you're just running there. It's just the convenience. So at a truck stop, I mean, you're going in there. You're eating. You're buying fuel. You're taking a shower. It's just convenient.
Yep.
But
Yeah, and I've been one of the things I wanted to ask you too, because on the video portion of our show here, I've been showing off my fancy bottle that I got when I had my DPF clean. I've got one of those squeeze bottle measurers. I know for a while there, you guys were having a hard time keeping those in stock. Are they readily available yet, or do you have a story on that? Because I tell you what, I really love the squeeze bottle versus a measuring cup.
Plastics made from oil products.
Yep.
And you never know what you're not going to be able to get right now you can't get BDEC 4 Detroit cylinder kits. We had a truck sitting 4 months waiting for engine parts.
Yeah, I spoke to
That's why a lot of people are buying a spare truck.
Yeah, and that's kind of the position I'm in. Eric told me, that the last out of frame took you guys somewhere around 6 months to get the parts, and it was the parts that held everything up.
Of course.
Uh-huh.
And that hurt my feelings.
Pretty
'Cause I'm like,
brutal.
oh gosh. Which is why I'm looking at a new truck temporarily. It'll probably just end up being another truck on the fleet, and we'll put another driver in it once I get my 07 back up to beautiful and running the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a guy that we've worked with for several years, TK, that always he asks us stuff, and he's got a question about his Peterbilt.
He wants to know
What year?
It's TK, throw up the year real quick. But he's asking how to get better power and mileage for his Pete. And I'm going to throw this out there because I know TK very well. He's probably driving 70 miles an hour everywhere he goes because he's TK. I love him, but I keep giving him a hard time about it. I keep telling him,
even though he learned to drive truck on my truck.
Right.
Well, there's still ways to get fuel mileage and drive fast, especially in rolling hills.
Right.
Think of that roller coaster. What makes a roller coaster go?
Momentum. Yep. Inertia.
Momentum. A lot of people can't answer that, by the way. So it's momentum. So the electric motor turning the gears, pulling the chain, pull it up the first hill. And every hill after that is slightly lower. But look at Interstate 80 in western Iowa. First time I crossed that in my Kenworth, and I wasn't hauling freight. I was pulling a 39-foot fifth wheel with a 24-foot garage trailer behind it. So I was 48.8, but I was turning 6 axles, and 4 of the axles were on 16-inch tires, and I was basically overloaded. So I was crushing those tires into the highway. When I crossed that, I said, did they do this on purpose? It's just one hump after the other.
Right.
So if there's no traffic and there's no police, it's okay to use that CB.
Right.
I don't care if you come down off the hill at 80. If you come down off of one hill at 80, you shoot up the other side.
Right.
So if normally it takes you 25 pound of boost to go up it at 65, but if you hit the bottom at 80, you may go up it at 18 pounds.
Right.
And always use the figure in lower boost settings of about 25 horsepower per pound. So if you're going along the level at 10 pounds of boost and you can lower it to 6 pounds by just easing off that throttle a little bit,
right,
you just saved 100 horsepower. Now, when you're up in the 30-pound range, it's between 16 and 18 horsepower per pound. So it's kind of an exponential curve.
Right.
The higher the boost, the less horsepower per pound. But when you're going along easy, it's 25 horsepower per pound.
Wow.
So
yeah, I mean,
all these long grades. Think, which way is the Mississippi? Think about the Mississippi River. It flows from north to south, right?
Right.
So if you're coming from Minnesota and you're going down to Baton Rouge, you're going downhill.
Yep.
But if you turn around and go the other way, water only flows one way.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, there's certain sections
I like to ride a bicycle.
You do? Oh.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say that
I'll tell you
there's sections around the country where I've got that D12 that has that feature for the E-Coast, where it just takes it out of gear if it doesn't need any power. And the longest I've gone with it without it being in gear on a rolling hills area was 6.5 miles. It just up and down. I just watched it do its thing. And I never got below 50 and I never got above 70. It just kind of coasted. A lot of people don't like that feature, but I really like it. I use the heck out of it.
Well,
it's one of those things. If you learn
you
how to
know,
use it, it's a good thing. But if you're not interested in learning, then probably it's going to scare you to death.
yeah. Well, I'd like to go for a ride in that and feel that, but it's back to the rolling hills. When you
Right.
accelerate on the downhill and you have your boost, if you know it's going to take 28 pound of boost to go up the next grade, you don't wait till you're into the hill to get 28 pound of boost. You want to have 28 pound of boost down in the valley.
Right.
And then as you're climbing, as the hill starts to taper off, and let's say you're holding 28 pounds, now you bring it down to 25, 22, 20, 18. You keep bringing it on down because the hill is tapering off.
Right. And that momentum and the inertia is helping you travel through that. Therefore, less fuel.
All right, I've got more wraps around the drum.
But yeah, so
Anyway,
yeah,
there. Do you guys know what a boatman seat is? It's a sailboat beside me,
Right.
and the mast is 85 feet tall, and there's a man going up it right now. I was in that boat.
Oh Lord.
On a friend of mine has it. He's right beside me, and the pulley at the top broke on us,
Oh man.
and this mast wanted to come down. This mast cost $250,000.
Holy heck.
And so we're loosening up the cables to try to save the mast, and we're in 23 knot winds out in the
Lord.
Chesapeake Bay.
Nope, I
So,
couldn't do it.
just
I
was
could not be
watching.
the guy up there. You know, I can
So
jump
there's
out of
a guy
airplanes, Bruce, with
in
a
the
parachute, and I'm perfectly fine with jumping out of an airplane. You put me on a 6-foot ladder, and I become something special. I cannot deal with it.
Is that
all.
right?
Yeah, it's the most baffling thing. Yeah, Multnomah Falls in Oregon is a great example. We walked, a mile and a half up that darn hill, killed myself getting up there, and I started walking out towards the edge, and I started getting wobbly and freaking out. And I told my wife, "I'm out. I got to go. I'm walking back down the hill." Never bothered to look over the edge. Now, had I had a parachute on my back, I could have walked up, stood on the rail, and been happy.
Wow, so you're a paratrooper.
Yeah, well, retired, but yes, sir.
Okay.
Baffling
So
stuff.
anyway,
Sorry.
momentum.
Momentum, yes, sir.
Momentum's your friend. 16 years ago, we moved to shop to Saxonburg, and they have where they tore up the railroad tracks, and they made it a bicycle and jogging and walking path, and it follows a creek. So we load the bicycles in the back of the pickup, and we go and unload them, and we're pedaling along, and I'm in 24th gear, just going like a bat out of hell
Right.
down this trail, and we went for 12 miles. And I said, boy, that's easy, and it's a fine gravel. Well, guess what? We were going with the flow.
Right.
Yep.
Then we had to turn around and go back up.
Then the work began.
And I stopped. Then I said, oh, made me think about truck going against the flow
Right.
of a creek or the flow of a river.
Mm-hmm.
So guys that haul air freight that leave New York City and have to be at Miami the next day, running down I-95.
Right.
Get better fuel mileage going to Florida
Yep.
and from Florida back to New York.
Mm-hmm.
But yet you're at sea level.
Right.
But think of where the United States sits on a globe.
Right.
Yep.
If gravity quit, we'd all fall off.
Yeah, one of my common runs is
When we go,
going from Denver down to New Mexico, and then from New Mexico down to Phoenix, and they're always heavy paper loads. And people shake their head at me like, "Why do you take those?" I'm like, "Well, other than one mountain pass, there is one mountain pass. But other than that, it's downhill the whole way. So who cares? I'm getting,
it
8.5
is.
miles to gallon on that run."
And getting the loads other people are turning down simply because it's, oh my gosh, it's 40,000 pounds, and we're like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So think about this. 75% of all the dirt in the United States above 10,000 feet is in Colorado.
Mhm.
That's why they have either 52 or 54 14,000 foot peaks. So when you're going towards Colorado, you are climbing. When you're going away from Colorado, you are going downhill. And when you are leaving Denver and you're going south down 25, yes, you are going downhill. And let me ask you a question. When you get down around Colorado Springs in the evening, there's a section there. I've been on it with my Kenworth. I was on it with my 95 Dodge with the Cummins. And I could feel the truck run free, like there was more oxygen in the air. And I never paid attention to what the mile marker was, but I wondered if, do you feel that in the one spot down south of Monument, but somewhere around Colorado Springs?
A little bit. That'd be right around, let's see, where would that be? I'm trying to think. I might be asking a little too much of me right now. But yeah, I know which section you're talking about.
You know, you can hear the engine get quieter, they're pushing less on the pedal, they're not losing any speed. So back to being able to drive 70 mile an hour when you're in rolling hills, yeah, you can run 70 and 80 and use the hill.
Right.
But when you're heading across 80, across Nebraska, or across Kansas, Kansas climbs 4,000 feet going across Kansas, and the wind's usually out of the west. The wind's coming out of Seattle, it's even worse because it's trying to push you into the passing lane.
Yep.
And I've been in Iowa, and I'm holding the steering wheel to the Kenworth. If the wind let up, I was going to be in the right ditch.
Yes.
When you get in situations like that, you want to drop down a half a gear. That's why I like a 13 or an 18, or on the newer electronic transmissions, drop it down one gear, back out of the throttle, bring the turbo boost down, and just sit back and relax, because you can't beat wind, but wind will wear out your engine. Wyoming, look at the wind in Wyoming. Wyoming has so much wind, they said they could put enough windmills in there to supply the whole U.S. with electricity. Wyoming's brutal going east to west.
So another thing, Bruce, that Charlie actually recently did this modification to his truck that I know you guys are in favor of is the fleet air filters.
I love that thing.
And Craig is asking, what's the actual benefit of that air filter?
Fleet air filters are usually a quarter mile, sometimes a half mile to the gallon. If you have a 379, 389, or W9 Pete, or an older 359, you put them in there, you'll actually hear the turbocharger whistling back through them. It's very low restriction, the 3 different layers of foam. On the outer layer is the only one that's oiled, and that's the one that you wash. And they do a phenomenal job. They were designed by a guy down in on the coast in Mississippi. What town is that, Deb? He has a fleet of tow trucks. He has an RV repair facility.
Oh, wow.
He builds street rods, and he did stock car racing on dirt track. And that was where the fleet air filter was invented, on the dirt track.
Makes perfect
keeping
sense.
the dirt out of the carburetor.
Right.
Yeah, Charlie.
So
Charlie beat me to that one. I beat him to the OPS. He beat me to the fleet air filter.
Look,
So
I've got an OPS sitting in my other room right now. I want to install it myself. My only problem right now is I can't seem to find a port for the positive pressure side that I can reach. So I may end up having to take it to someone, because I have some physical limitations, Bruce. I'm getting older. I've got these wonderful steel bars and arthritis in crazy places from the Army. So I can't get to some of these harder to reach kind of bend your wrist thing. I got a wrist that doesn't bend. It's all steel and hip bone. So yeah, I think I again was talking with Eric, and he said, well, there should be some more ports along the side. And I honestly don't know what I'm looking for. I've tried, and I may be to the point where I'm going to someone.
all you do is call 724-360-4080 and ask for Brian, the shop foreman, and he'll tell you where it is. By the way, that wasn't Mississippi. That was Mobile, Alabama.
Right.
That is where the fleet air filter was invented, Mobile, Alabama. So all you have to do, if you're a client of ours, or using Catalyst or any of our parts or anything, we will give you unlimited time on the phone.
Right.
If you're not a client and you just want to call and ask questions after questions, we will cut you off. We'll only tell you so much, and we say,
Right.
That's fair.
well, we don't ask owner operators to haul loads of freight for free.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
And that's actually one of the reasons that's one of the reasons I was excited to have you on, Bruce, is because we promote success with what we do, and your shop and your people are in our opinion some pretty successful people. So that's one of the things we wanted to get out there and have people listen to. This is what success actually sounds like.
Right.
So,
well, years ago, I was the black sheep in the industry. The American Fuel Injection Association, they wouldn't even let me join their group because I gave owner operators horsepower and torque.
Right.
I was in fuel injection school in Fort Worth, Texas, and the instructor was an ex-Marine, still had his buzzed haircut. He hated what I stood for.
Oh, Lord.
And I'm calibrating a fuel pump, and he came up behind me, and he took his hand on the sheet metal cover that covers where all the gears and belts are turning, and he slaps it. And I jumped. He said, see, PSE, pieces scattered everywhere. And I stuck to my guns. I said, everyone says truck drivers, you can't give truck drivers power. I said, I don't deal with truck drivers. I deal with owner operators.
Right.
Please don't compare the two. A truck driver is a company driver. An owner operator is a businessman. And then one day, I used to spend a lot of time at the Cummins plant back in the late 80s and mid 90s. And they called me into a meeting, and there's 12 engineers sitting around a table, and they said, have a seat, Mr. Mallinson. I'm thinking, uh-oh. And the one smiled at me, and I thought, what is coming? He said, we have some questions for you. Okay. Because a lot of their engineers helped me. Like Mark Chappell was the one that helped me the most, and he's about 78, 79 now, and we still talk once a week about engines. They said, how do you get 700 and 800 horsepower out of a big cam when we only get 400 and 475 out of our twin turbo, and you get all this horsepower?
Right.
Is that
no, go ahead.
Well,
we're good.
All right, so we're still going.
That.
They said you get all that horsepower and you don't have failures. I said, well, how do you know we don't have failures? They said, well, you are a Cummins dealer, so you do warranty work, and we look at you first every month to see what you turned in last month, and you're the lowest in North America.
Nice.
I said, wow, that's interesting. And so I said to myself, the rule is you ask questions like that, take at least 3 seconds to think of your answer. I said, well, you see, gentlemen, it's like the Playboy Bunny theory. They said, the Playboy Bunny theory, what's that? I said, well, when you give a guy 700 and 800 horsepower, and he parks his truck in the truck stop. Back then everyone was 290s, 300s, 350s, 335s. The chosen few had 400s, right? And some had 4 1/4 Bs. When that guy parked that truck and he's walking that truck stop, he turns around and looks, and he might not have had the prettiest truck. He might not have had the most lights or the most chrome, but he knew he had the most powerful truck in the truck stop. Nice. How do you think that made him feel?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So let's take Mr. Owner Operator marries an ex-Playboy Bunny, and she's beautiful, and she loves this guy. And he calls her and says, all right, honey, I'll be home at 4 o'clock on Friday. He gets home. She meets him at the truck. She's got her makeup on, her hair fixed and lipstick on and all dressed up. And she walks him into the house arm in arm and sits him down in his reclining chair and helps him get his boots off and hands him his favorite drink. I don't care if it's root beer or beer or Coca-Cola. And she says, honey, dinner will be ready in 20 minutes. And they have a nice meal. They enjoy Friday evening. Saturday morning, she gets up and she goes out and she cleans the inside of that truck and changes the sheets on the bunk. And there are some women that iron their owner-operators' shirts, and they tell them, this is your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I know a couple of guys like that.
Right.
And they hang their clean clothes in the closet, and then he finally wakes up and he comes out and he starts cleaning on his truck and stuff. The interior is all done. Saturday evening, they go out to dinner. Sunday morning, they get up and go to church, and she has a wonderful meal prepared for him. And about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, he leaves with the truck, and she has some cut up vegetables and things like that for him. And how do you think he's going to treat her?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
She's treating him like a king. He's going to treat her like a queen. Well, if that truck, that semi-truck that makes their life possible, treats him like a king, how do you think he's going to treat that truck?
Yep.
He's not going to beat the shit out of it. He's
Right.
not going to abuse it. He knows what he has. He doesn't have to drive it like a dragonfly, fly down one side and drag it up the other. He can let everybody pass him, because he knows on the next hill he's going to be passing them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And a great running engine, properly driven and properly maintained, will outlive, outperform, and do better on fuel mileage than a stock engine.
Bruce, that is a perfect analogy. I got to tell you, I brought Rosie back on the screen, Rosie, my wife, and she and I have been together since we were 15 years old. And I was not always a great person in my younger years, but she stuck by me, and I take every opportunity, even though she's, I look at her as an old hand now. When she's out on the truck, she gets out there and gets dirty, and like I said, changes parts on the truck and turns wrenches, and it's great. And when we come home, I just want to treat her like a queen every minute that I can, because she takes care of me and she makes me feel like a king. And I try to treat my truck the exact same way that you're saying, because I tell people all the time, if you take care of the truck's going to take care of you. And that flows right down into your home life. If you can't pay your bills, if you can't get that stuff going because your truck is not doing the things it needs to do, that's going to cause problems at home. So you got to take care of that truck, and a lot of the rest of it just seems to follow along. And it gives me the opportunity in this industry. In this industry, doing what we do, the money that we make is ridiculous. I know some guys are really struggling with fuel mileage. We have an amazing fuel surcharge program at Swift Transportation. I got to tell you, I love it. It's a built-in hedge against inflation right now, and I understand how some guys are struggling. But for us, it's actually a boon. For us, it's horrible for the country. I understand that, but if I look at it from a purely business standpoint, it is just a boom for us right now. But
yeah, at this point, most of us aren't paying for fuel, Bruce. Most of us are
Yeah.
getting more in surcharge than what our fuel bill is for the week.
Yeah,
So-
I made $100 on a
That's awesome.
tank of fuel. My first tank last week. I didn't actually do the math on the rest of them for the week yet, but my first tank was, I believe, somewhere between $85 and $95. My brain is a little lost right now, but in addition to my normal mileage contract, so I was paid $80 to fill my tanks into my pocket. It's just an amazing
Wow.
thing. Yeah, it's great. And I drive slow. I drive 55, 60 miles an hour most of the time. So,
Yeah, and that's that's why we really push the fuel mileage and the maintenance, because if you're getting 6 miles to the gallon, that surcharge, as high as it is, that's not breaking even.
Right.
We have to, with the contract that we have to have that fuel mileage up there as high as we can get it to take advantage of that contract. So
And like Chris, who said he just ordered a gallon of the catalyst, I will be placing my order as well this evening. So, Bruce, we're coming up on 2 hours here. I hate to cut you off, because damn it, I love these stories, and we definitely want to get you back on again if you're up for that, and you like the grooves and the group that we have here.
Here's something to think about. If you love your work, what is it they say? If you love what you're doing, you never really go to work for the
Right.
rest of your life.
Right.
When I started working with owner operators, I was traffic manager of Dravot Corporation, like metals plant in Neville Island, part of Pittsburgh, and it was mostly owner operators. And I said, "Wow, these guys are pretty neat." And they'd come in, and we built grading, and we also built big counterflow furnaces. They'd be 11 foot, 11 inches tall. So I used a lot of low boys and drop decks, and we'd have some great conversations because, I was a Corvette road racer at the time and had a Corvette shop. That's how I worked by day in traffic and transportation, worked by night on race cars so I could afford to have a race car. Heck, I made more in the evenings than I made in my day job. But, and then when the opportunity came to get into the engine business, it came through Golden Triangle Water Ski Club. A guy had this little fuel injection shop, and I would work on his Corvette, and we became really good friends. And he wanted to move to Tampa, Florida, and he told me, he said to me, "If you take what you know about Corvettes and turn it into diesel engines, you'll do just fine." And a month later, he takes off for Tampa, and I've got myself a little fuel injection shop.
Nice.
I didn't really have a fuel injection shop. I had a storefront. My rent was $100 a month, and he took the fuel injection equipment with him, but he left me enough cores and rebuilt pumps and injectors for small cam and big cam Cummins. And that was December 1st, 1977. And God, I met so many wonderful people.
Wow.
And so it's, people say, "Well, you like to snowmobile with owner operators and ride motorcycles and ski." I said, "Well, who do I have the most in common with?"
Right. Well, we
My
love
girlfriend
the
just
hell
said,
out of
"Not
you, Bruce. We love the hell out of you, and I got to tell you, Jeff and I are huge fans, always have been from day one. The first time we ever heard about you, I'm sure it was Jeff and I both. Was on Kevin's show, and good God, that the information that it's absolute. I can't even put a price tag on the things that we've learned and the money we've saved from both you and Kevin. I honestly wouldn't be in business today had it not been for the two of you. A couple other people out there, but from a business standpoint, the information that we've gotten out of the two of you is just it's priceless. It's absolutely priceless. So anything we can do to help promote you and get you back on here and talking with us, man, I got to tell you, I every minute of it. I could listen to you talk all day.
Well, I'll just call me and let me know. A week's notice is great.
Perfect.
And so
we'll do it, Bruce. I want to thank you
All
so
right.
much for coming on and being with us. And gosh, once again, thank you so much, Bruce.
You're quite welcome. Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Oh my gosh, folks. This is just y'all know I don't even know how to act right now. I'm completely just baffled. I'm starstruck. This show has gone really long. We're a little over 2 hours. Thank you guys for being here. Sorry guys, the fuel surcharge report, the EIA site is still not updated. They had a network issued, and because of that, they have not issued that report. So you're not going to get it from Swift. You can't get it from us. No one's got it until the EIA gets their networks issue resolved. They're still showing last week's averages, so we can't get past that. There's just nothing anyone can do right now until they get their networks sorted out.
Which really hurt my feelings, by the way.
Right, because we've been chomping at the bit.
So you know.
He's been out there in that high dollar fuel, and oh my gosh, you guys! Look, I was only paying like $5 a gallon this week, so I've been like, oh God, let it climb because I'm gonna make a killing. But now I don't know. But Jeff's out there.
Yeah, the cheapest calm data fuel I did get at a casino south of Vegas in Henderson, where I got calm data fuel. I didn't put enough money on my other card, but yeah, it was still $5.50. Yeah. And everything from south of there was 15, and all the way from Phoenix to Vegas, that's the way it was.
Rosie, any last words? Yeah, see how I do you?
Nah.
I wait for you to say. I wait for you to take a drink and anything you want to throw out there.
No. Okay.
All right. How about you, Jeff? We're gonna throw you on the hot seat. What do you got, man?
No, just so like you say, what he was saying about if you're a customer, they'll talk to you all day. Not quite, but I can tell you, I ordered my first product from them a couple years ago, the OPS system. I ordered it directly from Pittsburg Power, which put me in that customer thing.
Right.
And dude, I could call them and I'll say, hey, I'm just wondering, is this something I need to take it to the shop, or what do you think? And they'll be like, well, did you check this, this, and this? And 9 times out of 10, it'll be one of those things.
Right.
And I just get my little wrench kit out and do something, and holy cow, it was fixed. And as a
Nice.
result, I will spend the $40,000 or whatever it is for their big end frame when the time comes.
Right.
It's not even a question for me. So
Yeah, something we'll be talking about probably next week because we just don't have time about it. Is some decisions I need to make this week due to me not following my own advice, you guys. And we've always said that when we make mistakes, we will share those mistakes with you. I mean, we're out, we're open, and this one's going to be an expensive one, and we're going to dip into that next week for sure. We will have Bruce back on. We talked to him before the show. Jeff talked to him, and we are going to try and work something out so that we get either Bruce or one of his.
and he
top
did
guys.
say that it won't necessarily be him. It might be one of his engineers or one of his team leads. But hey, if he gets the guy that does the tunes to call us, dude,
right?
you guys, all those questions that you can ask. What does it do? How, all that stuff. That's the expert. And
Right.
he's got, these guys are engineers. They're not just wrench turners. So
The only shop in North America with salaried on staff engineers, electrical and diesel engineers. I mean, come on, you guys. And the information that this man has, I mean, oh, good God. He's forgotten more than I could ever learn at this point. I truly believe that. And so, yeah, this is,
hey,
can you tell I'm a fan?
We're good at what we do, and we have people like Bruce around to fill in the gaps.
Right. And that is our goal, to get as much information out there and so that everybody's benefiting from it. And Don Carr,
so
you have a lot to learn about taking care of the truck. You know what? We all do, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to get that education out there for us all.
for you guys that are interested in doing your own work. So Iron Maintenance, if you take your truck to them for a B service, you'll have to pay out of pocket for it, which, okay.
At a discount.
And it will be a little more, than having Swift do it, but you'll be out same day, and they'll let you watch them do it.
Right.
So your next oil change after that, even if you're on an MRP lease, man, do your own oil change just once. You'd be amazed
it's a big thing.
Working around that motor, changing the filters yourself, finding where the drain plug is. Some guys, I mean, I'm not hating on anybody, but some guys don't know where the drain plug is. But you get down in there and you're going to see stuff. It's like, well, where does that hose go? I'm going to follow that. That's interesting. And then, you're down the road, you hear, psh, and you're like, I remember where that hose is.
Yeah. Right. So. Chris, on that note, we have something we're working on towards that end as well. We're working a deal actually with Iron Maintenance that we're going to have a couple of gatherings is what we're shooting for sometime soon. I tried to get some stuff slapped together, recently, and we just couldn't get it worked out in time. But we have been talking with Iron Maintenance about this stuff, and we're going to get them to come out and teach us how to do some of this stuff. We will video it if you can't attend live, but we will video it and get those videos up as well. And so, but all right, guys, on that note, we got to wrap this thing. We're going to make everybody nuts and crazy. Jeff, thank you. Rosie, thank you. Bruce Mallinson, I want to say thank you to. Oh my God, oh my God, I'm just geeking out. I'm going to be high all night just from that alone. If it wasn't for the other crap I was on, you'd really see it. I'd be twitching out in my seat right now. But
Rosie and I were talking privately,
uh-oh.
and we were wondering if maybe we would have to take over the show because you'd just be like,
Look, it's
Right?
probably a good thing they got me on these new meds, and I'm still kind of whoa from it, because it kept me mellow, honest to God. And I hate to interrupt him just to ask another question, because you get him going and you're like, man, I just all day long. But once again, you guys, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. I just can't believe the time that you spend with us. We will see you next Tuesday, 6 p.m. right here on Contractors Corner. You guys be safe. Take care of each other. And we're